Now our next speaker is Molly Bacon, please.
Hello, my name is Molly Bacon, and just wanted to present some facts today. And after that, I will present my opinion on this. So, NIH summary of article published in April 2021, medical and non-medical face masks, N95, are ineffective to block human-to-human transmission of viral infectious disease such as COVID-19, supporting against the usage of face masks. Wearing face masks has adverse physiological and psychological effects, including hypoxia, hypercapnia, shortness of breath, increased acidity and toxicity, activation of fear and stress response, rise in stress hormones, immunosuppressants, fatigue, headaches, decline in cognitive performance, predisposition for viral and infectious illnesses, chronic stress, anxiety, and depression, as well as breathing in and out of a dampened mask throughout the course of a day, up to over 202,000 viruses as the potential exposure. From Forbes 5 days ago, masks and social distancing induced trauma, and trauma at a young age is developmentally dangerous, especially for children who are experiencing trauma in other parts of their life. 2019 study noted 50% of US youth experience childhood trauma. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, children without assurance of their personal security, e.g. social anxiety from masks and social distancing, are often incapable of making healthy social connections and may have difficulty building intimate relationships in their lives. Neurological research demonstrates that kids who experience this kind of fear and trauma at a young age undergo structural and functional restructuring of their brain's prefrontal cortex, resulting in emotional and cognitive processing problems. I can attest to this personally, as I am a neuro-linguistic practitioner and I specialize in trauma. Children in masks are also likely to miss out on critical language development, another fundamental area of growth. Further, facial expressions and integral human connection, particularly for young children who are only learning how to signal fear, confusion, and happiness. Covering a child's face mutes these nonverbal forms of communication and can result in robotic, emotionless interactions, anxiety, and depression. COVID-19 cases among children have increased due to Delta variant, but according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, 0.00% to 0.03% of all child COVID-19 cases resulted in death this past week. Despite sensationalized clickbait news coverage, a child's current chance of death from COVID-19 in America is lower than their chance of dying from a lightning strike. Tragically, the prevalence of clinical, and my daughter's turn is next, so I will be taking a short portion of hers as well. Tragically, the prevalence of clinical depression and anxiety have already doubled for children globally since the beginning of COVID-19. In US, suicide attempts were up 50.6% compared to the same period in 2019. I don't say any of this to tell you whether or not to mask your children. I believe in choice. I believe as a mother and a citizen of the United States of America that it is my right as it is yours to choose. It is a deeply disturbing reality to know I must stand before you and defend my right to choose for my child. As Benjamin Franklin so truthfully stated, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Whatever you feel, sweetie.
Thank you, Molly.
Hi, I am here to talk about masks. I want to be able to have the choice to wear a mask. And when I wear a mask, I feel like I can't breathe as well as when I can without a mask. The mask lets in a lot of other stuff, so the virus can easily get into it. And when I wear a mask, I try my best to put it under my nose so I can breathe better. And when I say this, I mean it. I don't want to wear a mask because you can't see people's expressions, and it makes me upset that we have to be forced to wear a mask. I really don't like it at all, so please give us a choice to wear a mask. I'm miss not having to wear a mask. I hope we can have it like 2 years ago at my school. And if you give us a choice, then some people can still wear a mask if they want it. And everyone gets their way because they have a choice. So I hope you can understand how I feel about it.
Thank you, Olivia. That ends our first 30 minutes of public comment. We're going to resume our agenda and pick up remaining public comments later in the meeting. And at that time, our first speaker is Tony Loretti, I believe, or something close to that. Okay, moving forward, are there any comments from board trustees?
Randy, I'll go first, okay? Obviously, masks are a controversy. Boy, do I want masks in school? No. But I appreciate administration's thoughtful approach to this. I think there's a lot of openings for us to switch back and forth, depending on what's going on in the community. I have a unique perspective because my wife, is a physician at Bronson, and she's taking care of the COVID patients. And, visitors weren't allowed in the hospitals, and I don't want us to ever get back to that. My wife had to hold iPads up to people as they were dying because their families couldn't come to the hospital. So that people were saying goodbye to their loved ones on an iPad that my wife was holding up. It's horrific, some of the stuff she's been through. I mean, she has serious PTSD, and she still has to go into the hospital every day. I bought wintergreen mints, a big package of them, and she threw them away because the smell of wintergreen mints makes her sick because they have them all over the hospital. And it just creates anxiety. And it's not about her, it's about what she saw was horrific. So I just want the community and this board to understand my perspective. Kids aren't getting sick, like you said, but kids do carry the virus, and they can carry it home. You're being very disrespectful. You're being very disrespectful. Kids can bring it home. If we can do anything to stop the spread in the community, we represent the owners. The owners are this community. They're the businesses and the people who live in this community. And I think if we can do everything we can to protect the owners, then whether you believe in the science or not, the CDC recommends it. The county health department recommends it. The National Institute of Health Director, Dr. Francis Cowan, on July 19th, says NIH director backs maskings in schools. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends masking. So it's not going to 100% prevent spreading, but it's going to slow it. It's going to slow spreading. And so I really don't want our health system to become overwhelmed like it was this past winter. President Van Antwerp.
Please.
President Van Antwerp, I'd just like to finish. I'd like to thank the district administration and thank you for being thoughtful, for protecting the community, for protecting our staff, for protecting children, but to leaving openings where, I'm not 100% agreement that the kids should be in the halls. But I appreciate the thoughtfulness of you and your team and what you did. So thank you.
Thanks, Rusty.
I would also like to echo the thoughtfulness and thought that goes into this. There was no blueprint for this. And so thank you to administration. And it's hard not to personalize this. And we've certainly heard all the stories about delivering goodbye messages under iPads. And I had a direct family member who died, who was in a coma and didn't have the opportunity for an iPad or a visit from me. So I feel for that. And I feel for the decision-making process that everybody has gone through with this, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Anyone else?
Well, Randy, I know you'd probably say it too, but I'm going to head in a different direction. I want to thank the community for what they did earlier in August with that vote. We got a little lucky with the timing of some old bonds ending and a new project coming online. Mark, you and your team figured that out and figured out how to time that project so that we can replace all those elementary schools with no increase in the millage rate. That is incredibly unique. We'll be working on that for the next part of a decade, but that's a small price to pay to not have to pay an increased price for that. So many thanks to the community for their support.
Yeah, thanks, Bo. This is the first time as a board we've had a chance to thank the community, and we really appreciate they stepped up, their generosity and commitment, and what they're willing to do for our kids and our community. It's great. Thanks for bringing that up. Anyone else? Okay, let's move to our consent agenda. And we only have one item on our consent agenda tonight, and that's the approval of meeting minutes from the July 26, 2021 regular business meeting and closed session. Are there any exceptions to the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Our next item is a required action item on page 15. It's a resolution authorizing 2021 school building and site bonds. Is there a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make the following motion that the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing the 2021 school building and site bonds as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
And Paula is here somewhere to speak to this issue.
Good evening, Board of Ed and Superintendent Beeling. Included in your board packet was a memo giving a recommendation to approve the resolution to issue the 2021 building and site bonds. The district does plan to use the same legal counsel for Miller, Canfield, Paddock & Stone as the bond counsel, Baker Tilly as our financial advisor, and Stiefel Nicholas and Company as our district underwriter. We hope and anticipate to close on the bonds to receive proceeds in early November. So the resolution tonight starts that process for us to move forward to build the elementary buildings. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Paul?
And interest rates are still very low.
We hope they continue that way.
Well, Paul, it sure looks good to me. Thank you very much. All in favor of approving the resolution authorizing the 2021 school building and site bonds, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes, and the resolution authorizing 2021 school building and site bonds is approved. Our next action item is new teacher appointments on page 33. Is there a motion, please?
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education approve the new teacher appointments as presented. Would you like me to read the names?
Yes, please.
Okay. Jennifer Altweiss, first grade, Haverhill Elementary. Ashley Barnum, art, Angling Road and 12th Street Elementaries. Suzanne Barrett, special education coordinator, all PPS middle schools. Aubrey Benner, art, Amberley and Lake Center Elementaries. Taylor Bradley, resource room, Northern High School. Stephanie DeAnda, fax, Central High School. Christopher Dunham, resource room, Northern High School. Britannia Eldon, 5th grade, Woodland Elementary. Aaron Emery, music, Angling Road and Haverhill Elementaries. Jessica Gasper, school psychologist. Trevor Haas, PE Health, Central High School. Caitlin Hanson, 1st grade, Mooresbridge Elementary. Amber Harkness, 4th grade, Amberley Elementary. Jordan Howell, school psychologist. Kelly Hungerford, elementary virtual teacher. Abigail Johnson, 5th grade, Amberley Elementary. Julia Nealing, art, Central and Angling Road Elementaries. Mary Kovacic, 1st grade, Angling Road Elementary. Mark Maddox, chemistry, Central High School. Lisa McCarthy, librarian, Lake Center and Mooresbridge Elementaries. Aaron Mueller, kindergarten, 12th Street Elementary. Taylor Pell, 5th grade, Mooresbridge Elementary. Kathleen Reif, 5th grade, Angling Road Elementary. Megan Rohde, resource room, Central Elementary. Randy Simmons Miller, vocal music, Central High and Central Middle Schools. Camilla Stewart, special education coordinator, all PPS elementary schools. Kay Tarleton, K-12 English learner teacher. David Vanderhorst, business education, Central High School. Mark Vosge, shared time Spanish, HCP. Joseph Wenzel, business education, Central High School. Teresa West, 2nd grade, Angling Road Elementary. Chelsea White Oak, vocal music, Northern High and North Middle Schools. Brianna Wisniewski, resource room, Central Elementary.
Thank you very much, Terry. Is there a second, please?
I second that.
Oh, very good, thank you. Brad?
Terry, for reading the names so I don't have to. I appreciate that. So now I bring to you, as we do this time of the year, every year, our initial list of new teacher hires. So there are 32 names on this list. Since I typed the list on Wednesday, I believe hired 4 or 5 additional ones. Those will be coming at our next meeting as well. Just like to point out just a couple of things. As we always like to point out, we do have 2 Portage graduates returning to us as teachers now. So one coming to Central, and one from Central and one from Northern as well. And I'm really excited about this group of teachers. They're bringing a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. Had the opportunity to spend time with them at our new teacher orientation last week, and they will be great additions to our faculty.
Thank you, Brad. Any questions for Brad?
Brad, is this the largest list we've ever had?
I think it's the largest single list because we typically have broken it up into multiple lists, but with the timing of everything this year, it all ended up on this list. So as I said, I'm gonna have 4 or 5 more. Typically, my second list may have 10 or more. But yeah, this is a big list for us. I'm not sure I've gotten to 4 pages before.
You've been busy. Thank you for all your work.
Brad, just one question. Did you say how many more teachers we need to hire?
I believe we have 1 more we're trying to hire right now.
Okay.
Other than that, we should be good and in place.
Okay. Good. Anything else for Brad?
Curious, Brad, is this mostly for retirements, or is this to cover more students this year?
It's a combination. A lot for retirements, as you would see. We also, keep in mind last year with the way our elementary specials ran, we had a couple retire the year before that were not replaced last year, so you're seeing a couple of those. Some of our art teachers, librarians, those folks. There's also some additional special educators on this list as well because of the growth in the population that we need to serve with special education. So we have an additional psychologist in addition to one that retired, as well as those 2 new coordinator positions that you see on there as well. That's a new role for us, and we're going to be rolling that out this year to be able to integrate not only with our special educators, but also with all of our classroom teachers.
Thank you.
Anything else for Brad? Okay then, all in favor of approving the new teacher appointments, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The new teacher appointments are approved. Thank you. Our next item is the Central High School softball dugouts. On page 38, is there a motion, please?
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education approve as presented, that the Board of Education approve $274,834 for the Central High School softball dugouts budget and to approve it as part of this budget, to award a contract of $120,640 to Hasselhoff Builders. The total requested amount of $274,834 will come from the 2019 Bond Fund Proposal 1 unallocated contingency.
Thank you. Is there a
And
second?
seconded.
Thanks, Bo. Ron?
Yes, this request is to really complete some of the work on our Central AEF campus. And we have, these dugouts were not a part of our original design plan. And as we completed the work on that campus and really took a look at those facilities, they were somewhat in disrepair, and felt like we would bring this to the board on the council of our steering committee. They thought it was a high priority item for that campus. It would also put both campuses in alignment. And so we bring this to the board for your consideration.
Ron, are they moving the site, or is it in the same place, or?
In the same, we're demolishing the current softball dugouts, and they will be on that same site.
Just seems like a big number.
Seems like a big number,
Right.
but you have demolishment, and I think I have all the
You do.
pertinent detail in there, but I had multiple firms give us sort of brief estimates before we went out to bid, and this is where it is in the market today.
Okay.
And it is crazy, so thank you.
So even though the funds are coming from 2 sources, is the work going to be done in one phase?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ron? Thanks, Ron. I'm glad we got the, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. Randy, Mr. Van Antwerp, you preempted me. This is my last board meeting, and this is my last presentation. I wanted to say to the board, to all the administrators, to all the staff, to all of the students that I've worked with, that this has been a really great experience for me personally. And I'm excited about retirement, but I am very sad about leaving this organization. What you can tell from this particular room is that people in this community care deeply about their kids, about their community, and about their students' education. And don't take that for granted. I've been in other places. It's not that way every place you go. And so this is a special place. I wish this organization, this district, the best, the very, very best. And I'm proud to call myself a part of this community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ron, and I'm glad we have the opportunity to vote on this proposal and make things right at Portage Central. All in favor of approving the Central High School softball dugouts, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes and the CHS softball dugouts are approved. Our next item is a surveillance camera purchase. Is there a motion, please, on page 42?
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education approve as presented the purchase of surveillance cameras from Night Watch of Kalamazoo, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $407,528.88. The proceeds to be drawn from the 2019 Bond Enhancement Funds.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dan?
Yes, Board Trustees, this is the third and final installment of the approvals that are required to replace the security cameras throughout the district. This is the actual camera portion, along with the installation, mounting, and viewing of those, view setting of those cameras. I expect this work to be complete sometime in October, with the caveat that the switches we need to actually power and connect these cameras are still on back order. Right now, those switches are slated for November. But we'll be working on this project as soon as we can get the gear in and get it lit up and get the buildings back to full capacity for surveillance. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions for Dan?
Dan, estimates of useful life for this equipment?
Security cameras are typically rated for 5 to 7 years. Interior ones last longer than exterior ones. But our current fleet, a large number of them were actually installed in 2009, so they don't owe us a whole lot at this point in time. Public schools, we always lag behind the recommended replacement schedule just because we don't have as much IT funds as a private corporation might have. These cameras that we're buying now, I've been very happy with the quality. We put our first set that matches the style in when we opened up North Middle School, and I've been very, very happy with them.
Thank you.
Anything else for Dan? Very good. All those in favor of the surveillance camera purchase, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The surveillance camera purchase is approved. Our next motion is to go into closed session to discuss collective bargaining strategy. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education move into closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining strategy as allowed under the Open Meetings Act, 15.268, Section 8C.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is a roll call vote, please, Barb.
Mr. Droppers?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Rathburn?
Yes.
Dr. Shelton-Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Van Antwerp?
Yes.
Mrs. Navaria?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
The motion is approved, and we'll be moving into closed session. We'll come back into open session and take some action on some contract approvals, I hope, and then we'll resume public comment with our first speaker, Tony Loretti. I probably didn't get that right, but Tony is our next speaker. Thank you. Okay, we're back in open session to take some action on some labor agreements and then go back to public comment. Is there a motion, please?
President Van Antwerp, I move that the Board of Education approve the 2021-2023 contractual agreement with the Portage Education Association and the letter of agreement with the Portage Transportation Association as presented.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion?
Randy, I just like to say to both the bargaining teams for both groups, for the teachers, the bus drivers, and for the administration, I just like to thank everybody for working together. I don't know how the teachers feel and the bus drivers, but the bargaining team for administration has always been very complimentary in how everybody's really worked together. I mean, we had some scheduling issues from what I understand, but I just appreciate the bargaining units for both our staff and our admin team, and thanks to everybody.
Thanks, Rusty. We all agree. Thanks for making those comments. Anyone else? All those in favor of approving the labor contract motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes and the labor agreements are approved. Okay, we'll go back to public comment, and our first speaker is Tony. Welcome.
Thank you for hearing me. I'm going to skip part of this because I think you've already heard it several times before tonight. But I do want you to know that some of the harmful effects of the mask are the microplastic fibers that everybody is breathing in. And every time you crumple one of these masks, you inhale these microfibers, similar to what asbestos would be. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, we buy all our masks from China. China's the one that gave us the virus to begin with. Our own Pfizer and Moderna worked with the Wuhan lab to help develop this, but they're making the vaccine for us. You know, it's a little hypocrisy here. We know that the mask obstruct exhalation, and some of the carbon dioxide is inhaled back that can cause dizziness, headache, tiredness, elevated blood pressure, in extreme cases, coma. And that's happened to a lot of our older seniors in this country. We know the mask can cause children to breathe through the mouth, which can set the stage for lifelong respiratory problems. We know that most children don't wear masks correctly. They drop it. It is most likely not disinfected or changed regularly. There are many discussions about masks causing speech and other developmental issues, especially in the mental area. COVID has created another huge, huge disease. It's called irrational fear. And that's what America is living in today, is an irrational fear. And our own government is creating that. And for what I hope, you folks won't continue to let them keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Tony. Our next speaker is Roxanne Hallam.
Okay, I'm going to keep mine short because most of what I believe has already been said. But I do think that it's very important that looking at your numbers from earlier, you've projected over 8,000 students for Portage Public Schools. Yet we have 137 families that were up there, but they disappeared. 137 families dictating what the rest of the kids are doing. It's not fair. My freedoms and my rights don't make them take off their mask. Their rights and their freedoms shouldn't make me or my children put one on. And you can leave it running because I'm donating my time to Karen.
Good evening. My name is Karen Smoots. I have a child that will be a freshman and another child that will be a senior at Portage Central High School. By the way, Climax Scots voted 6-0 to ignore the mask mandate and keep masks optional. That's just in. So I have contemplated where to go with my message today, but since we are hearing so much about follow the science, right? That's all we hear. CDC, the health department, NIH, the WHO, we're following the science. So I decided to share a few pieces of science that I have uncovered. And I do understand the science because my first job right out of college was as a pharmaceutical rep, and we were trained to understand the literature that we were talking with physicians. On July 1st, 2021, the Journal of American Medical Association, so JAMA, which is a very reputable journal that most physicians follow, Pediatrics, published a study that found the wearing of nose and mouth coverings by children leads to an increase in carbon dioxide levels in both inhaled and exhaled air while wearing a mask. The authors, a group of physicians from Germany, Poland, and Austria, concluded that the findings suggest that children should not be forced to wear masks. The sample size was limited to 20 girls and 25 boys between the ages of 6 and 17, with an average age of 10.7. The study was conducted by measuring base carbon dioxide levels with no face mask in a controlled environment for 3 minutes, followed by a 3-minute measurement of inhaled and exhaled air with a mask, a 3-minute measurement of only inhaled air with a mask, and 3 minutes of only exhaled air with a mask. The results found an average of 13,120 and 13,900 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the air inhaled by children while wearing surgical and filtered masks, respectively. Under German law, the carbon dioxide contents of a closed room cannot exceed 2,000 parts per million, more than 6 times less than the mass children were inhaling. The results also found that the carbon dioxide levels tended to increase in the younger the children were, with 1 7-year-old levels measuring 25,000 parts per million. The authors claim that most of the complaints made by children wearing masks can be explained by the increased carbon dioxide levels. According to the study, the dead space in the mask collects exhaled CO2 quickly, and that carbon dioxide mixed with oxygen increases the amount of inhaled underneath that mask. With that being said, if we are talking about following the science, you are mandating that our children be masked for 6 hours a day, respectively. That's less than 60 minutes. I took out 60 minutes for the lunch in the hallways. 60 minutes each hour for a total of 360 minutes, 5 days a week in a closed classroom. So for 360 minutes, and now we know that they breathe over 2.5 times over the accepted carbon dioxide level because our OSHA in the United States is 5,000 parts per million. Every hour, and younger children even more, you expect us to put our children at risk and sit back and accept these mandates. We as parents simply will not do that any longer. These are our children, not yours. Beginning on April 5th, my then 8th grade son decided to return to in-person school for the first time that entire school year at Central Middle after doing virtual the entire year. He was excited to see his friends and return to school. Approximately 8 days is all he made it. That's all he did. I picked him up, my previous healthy, full of life child, for almost 8 continuous days with debilitating headaches from wearing a mask almost 7 hours a day. He was dizzy, he was sick, his skin was red, and he felt sick to his stomach with his head out the window the entire ride home. At high levels, the carbon dioxide itself causes headaches. This is OSHA, by the way. This is on their website. At high levels, carbon dioxide itself can cause headache, dizziness, nausea, and other symptoms. This can occur when exposed levels of more than 5,000 parts per million for many hours. What are the symptoms, you say? Well, hypercapnia and hypercarbia. This is excessive carbon dioxide into the bloodstream, typically caused by inadequate respiration or airflow. It causes dizziness, drowsiness, excessive fatigue, feeling disoriented, flushing of the skin, and shortness of breath. Therefore, one great woman, Rosa Parks, once did, when asked to move to the back of the bus, she just said no. And we as parents have the right to protect our children and to look out for them, and we can simply say no to the mask mandates. I thank you for your consideration, and I immediately ask you as a board to vote tonight to reverse this mask mandate and let the parents choose for their children.
Thank you, Karen, for your comments. Our next speaker is Jerry Reeves.
Jerry had to leave, but she had one question for the board. Is there a mandate from the health department barring volunteers in school, or is this a personal decision by the board? I know I also did a lot of volunteering in Portage, and we're not allowed in the classrooms anymore. Is there a reason for that? Is that a mandate by the state or just yours?
We're not going to answer questions about that.
I know you don't have to answer. I know, I just wanted to state the question.
I'm sorry, are you Jerry Reeves?
I asked her, she had to go. She wanted me to ask that question.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Mr. Jim Cole, please.
Hi, Jim donated his time to me. My name is Lindsay Anderson Reyna. I didn't make it in time to sign my name on that piece of paper, so I wanted to be sure that I was heard. I moved to this Portage community 4 years ago. I'm going to tell you why I moved here. I lived in a small town when I grew up. I graduated with 68 people. 68. I came here to find diversity. Before I bought a house in Portage, I went to the schools because that was my most important reason for moving. I wanted my two children who have different fathers, different skin colors, my children, both of them, I needed to find a place where I felt they would see their peers when they went to school every day. I've never in my life been to a school board meeting. When I walked in this room, what I see sitting in front of me isn't, you're not a diverse group. The board that I see is what I wanted to get away from. I came to Portage for the community that you see looking back at you. And if you don't see the same diversity, when you look amongst yourselves, as you do in this audience, that probably tells you why the one-size-fits-all approach will not work, because everyone is diverse. Everyone has different needs. Everyone. I just want a choice. That's it. I have no problem with anyone else wearing a mask. I just don't want my child to wear it. He doesn't feel safe wearing it. My child has asthma. My child said to me, "Mom, when I'm at school, my throat feels like this." Well, what do you do when that happens? I go to the office, and what do? They take my temperature and tell me I don't have a fever and I have to go back to class. Okay? I have nausea during the school day. I go to the principal's office, they take my temperature, they tell me I don't have a fever and that I should go back to class. My child is feeling sick from this. The community that surrounds you is asking, it's requesting just a choice. That's it. What I see in front of me is a bunch of parents for different reasons that need a choice. And I would also say that, again, when you look amongst yourselves as peers, do you see a diverse group of people? Because I don't. What I observe is a group of people that is within the very same age group. I can see that. I can see that it's a generational thing. I wanted to get away from a small town for that reason. That's why I'm here. What I realized is you're going to make the same rules and decisions because that's just what you want to do. You serve this community. You get your tax money. This school is funded with the people sitting here. And you're not representative of this community. That is what I see. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Juliet Altman.
didn't mean to run like that, but, you know, sorry. Thank you. My name is Juliet. You have my address. Actually, you have it from the previous time I spoke. The reason I am here today is, first of all, I wanted to take a chance originally to thank you all for initially taking the stand to offer parent choice. However, I do understand that you are forced by the local Kalamazoo County Health Department, and maybe your hands are tied. But let's remember that Jim Rutherford is not a medical degree holder. He has an MPA. And what I keep hearing time after time is that we need to look at the science, we need to look at the facts, we need to look at the professionals. And last I checked, a master's of business is not a medical degree. And I do sympathize with the two board members that spoke about their stories and using iPads and all that stuff. Unfortunately, those stories are not our children's fault. Those rules were implemented by our great governor, and those rules were passed by the hospitals, not allowing family members to say their farewells. And I'm sorry that you have lost somebody. Nobody should, and that is terrible. My sympathies. I come to you now, however, as a concerned parent about what will happen to my children, and will they be bullied because they have a legitimate reason not to wear a mask. We have already obtained mask waivers for them for this school year. My son has been in person at K-RISA all last year, face to face, without a mask. And not once was he rejected because that school specializes in attending to children just like him. But why do I ask about the bullying? Assume was organized by a local Christine Morse, Michigan House of Representatives from the 61st District, which is this one. In the Zoom, a parent asked if she would help advocate for special needs kids as her child had issues with speech. Instead of sympathizing to those trials that special needs children endure with masks, she instead suggested and encouraged that maybe they should be separated from their peers. This idea was met with great enthusiasm from the side who is pushing for mask mandates across the board. Segregation, is that what we're looking forward to in this century? You mean to tell me that my own children, 2 special needs children that are new students to Portage, have this to look forward to? So I'm begging you to enact some protection for these children. Segregation. Are schools going to start promoting this? Will my child be segregated next by their skin color as well? And why am I scared of bullying online? These parents are vicious. I have had to shut down my business page for threats that they're coming after my personal business. As an immigrant to this country, the opportunity to speak to you freely, I do not take for granted.
Thank you for your comments.
So please enact some protection for my children.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kimberly Larson, please.
Hello? There we go. Real quick, I'm pushing 3 minutes with what I want to say, so just keep that in mind. As I've been looking around the auditorium this evening, I was struck by something really awesome, and that was that everybody in this room is here for one reason and one reason that we are here because we want what's best for our children. The problem, though, is that it looks different for each person. And, you know, it really comes down to something that every teacher in this program ought to know, and that is called differentiation. Teachers plan for it. Their evaluation is based on how well they do it. Principals come into their classroom to do observations and look for differentiation. This means that they need to be meeting the needs of every individual student in their classroom. Every student, think about that. It is not one size fits all. And Portage actually kind of does this pretty well, to an extent, but if you think about the high school, students have the opportunity for AP classes, IB classes, they can do core classes, they can do arts, etc. There's a really great program that isn't advertised enough, by the way, you guys, EMC, Early Middle College. My daughter will graduate from KVCC next year through the Early Middle College as a machinist. She loves it, and the really cool thing, she also got to take AP classes, which she loves. It's fantastic. Now let's think about last year, remember that? We got to choose in person, or we got to choose virtual. And the neat thing about that was differentiation. Every student's needs were met. One of my daughters chose in person. Oh boy, did she need it. My other three students, my other three children, between ATIP, CAMSI, and EMC, their schedule did not work for in person, so they did virtual. Every child's needs were met. Why? Because of differentiation. We differentiated for every individual student's needs. So now I'm hearing from the board that they have approved, that you guys have approved a one-size-fits-all for masks. And here's the problem. I get that you're locked into it for the elementary. I understand your hands are tied. I totally understand that. The problem is that there are parents in this room, or were in this room earlier, who had really, really good reasons for their child to wear a mask. They're really good. And we have just heard some really good reasons that children should not wear their mask for those children. And there's probably some families who say, you know what, this child needs a mask, and this one of my children does not need a mask. It is the worst thing we could imagine for them. So I'm asking you, every child's needs met, please. Differentiation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Our next speaker is Robert Walk, please.
Good evening, my name is Rob Walk. I appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to speak today. I want to read a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politic, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right. I'm here to ask you again to not mask my child, to give me the choice, because my conscience tells me it's right. I can go to Tiger Stadium today with 35,000 other people and not wear a mask. I can go anywhere else in Portage and not wear a mask. You guys can all sit up there and you have the choice not to wear a mask. I'm asking that for my child. There's a thing called, there's a phenomenon called bystander syndrome. And that's when there's a crisis, people will stand by and actually watch somebody get mugged or killed or whatever. Until there's a brave person, they call him a hero. That hero stands up, or it's also called a moral guardian. Tonight I just heard that Climax became a moral guardian. I was going to ask you to be a moral guardian for my kids, and to have the courage to stand up against the mandate from the Kalamazoo County, from somebody who's not a medical professional. I'm still asking you to do that, now more as a bystander. Please, please, you've heard all the arguments today, all the science, you've heard it. Everybody's preaching the same thing. They want choice. My daughter's going to be in kindergarten. She is so excited. She has all her supplies. She's putting stuff together. I can't send her. She has this big, beautiful smile. I can't send her to school with a mask. She's bilingual. She knows 2 languages. She learns through enunciation. She learns by watching my mouth. If she doesn't, she starts saying, she goes, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm asking you guys still to be moral guardians for our kids. I want you to stand up. Please stand up. You will inspire others to stand up as well by doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker is Kim Harris.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kim Harris. I'm a retired early childhood educator, a parent of 2 Portage Northern graduates, and a grandmother of 1. I will be referencing the truth about mask mandates, where you will find over 100 links from the following website at timetofreeamerica.com. Again, that's timetofreeamerica.com. I'll share a few with you tonight. 1, watch Dr. Fauci explain why wearing a mask during a pandemic is not effective. 2, watch Dr. Jim Meehan, wearing masks makes healthy people sick, does not help to prevent the spread of COVID-19. 3, America's frontline doctors share why mask mandates do not work. 4, you were played. Asymptomatic transmission of COVID-19 didn't occur at all. Study of 10 million fines. 5, reality check. Ben Swan on why face masks don't work. 6, the experts are ignoring science on wearing masks. 7, we know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. 8, Dr. Jim Meehan, why healthy people should not wear masks. 9, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, wearing a mask is a personal choice. 10, healthy people should wear masks only if caring for coronavirus patients. 11, there is no medical, scientific, or constitutional basis for mask mandates. 12, is breathing air with less than 19.5 oxygen content dangerous? 13, the rulemaking record for the respiratory protection standard clearly justifies adopting the requirement that air breathed by employees must have oxygen content of at least 19.5%. A lesser concentration of oxygen in employees' breathing air could endanger them physiologically and diminish their ability to cope with other hazards that may be present in the workplace. The rulemaking record also demonstrates that any workplace atmosphere controlled at or near your recommended minimal oxygen level of 100 millimeters of mercury at sea level, equivalent to about 13 oxygen at sea level, is not safe and healthful for all. 14, German neurologist warns against mask wearing, face masks. Oxygen deprivation causes permanent neurological damage and it's worse for kids. Finally, mask harms in kids. 68% of parents report alarming psychological and physiological problems in first of its kind study. I challenge you to come forward with science, data, and studies that show the effectiveness of wearing masks with school-aged children in lowering or stopping the risk of COVID-19. And finally, if you continue to mandate the mask as a retired educator, I will encourage every single one of these parents to pull their children from Portage Public Schools. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ken Oza, please. And we'll move to our next speaker, please, Howard Ryan.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Howard Ryan, and I have a child in Portage Central Middle School. I am a PhD scientist with approximately 20 years of experience developing therapeutics for the treatment of varied diseases. Over my career, my work is focused on assessing the preclinical safety and efficacy of gene therapies that includes both viral and mRNA-mediated modes of gene transfer. Much of this work has involved working with infectious viruses, and I'm extremely knowledgeable in the strengths and limitations of personal protective equipment, or PPE. We moved to the Portage School District in the beginning of 2020 because of its stellar reputation. However, over the past year, the Board of Education's extremely poor judgment and reckless decision-making regarding school closures, online learning, and other mandates has imposed severe harm on my child. physical harm, emotional harm, cognitive harm, and developmental harm. I'm here to express my disdain and contempt for the new mask mandate communicated last week. I am aware of the citations provided by the county that claim to support their misguided emergency order. I can tell you as a published scientist, for every single one of their so-called citations that you provided on your website, I can find another peer-reviewed report arguing quite the contrary. Let me be clear. Looking at the impact that mask mandates have had in Michigan, as well as other states and other countries, on community spread of COVID, hospitalizations, and deaths, one thing is absolutely certain. Mask mandates have zero impact on community spread. The data are incontrovertible. My child should not continue to be part of your forced medical experiment. Where did we give the board our consent to have you place a medical device on our child all day at school? The answer is we did not give you permission. Public policy should not be based on scary COVID case counts, as you presented earlier in the talk today, which are the direct result of a faulty PCR test, which even the CDC earlier this month pulled the plug on, where it will be removed from use in the USA effective December 31st. Don't believe me? Go to cdc.gov. Public policy should be based on harm assessment that includes the incidence of COVID hospitalizations and deaths. To this point, last week, the CDC reported hospitalization risk for children under 18 in the USA was 1 in 100,000, or 0.001%. And yet, for another year, you're going to muzzle my child because of that ridiculous risk. The madness needs to stop. I'll tell you right now, I don't know where the mask mandates are going down the road with you folks, but neither my wife nor myself will permit our child to be injected and to assume both real and unknown risks for what amounts to negligible benefit of the vaccine. This will require us to either constitutionally unseat all of you on the board, as well as the county folks who are pushing these orders, or to pull our child out of school. And I can guarantee you, as you've just heard moments ago, we are not the only parents prepared to do this.
Thank you, Howard. Our next speaker is Joey, is it Ferncut?
I first of all want to commend you amazing parents who have stood up for what you believe and what you want to see change. God bless you all. Because I'm the other generation. I am a 71-year-old grandmother with 16 grandchildren. I am a proud graduate of Portage Central High School. And I stand here in absolute awe of what is taking place. And I am begging of you as a board that you stop listening to the garbage you're listening to and listen to these people who are speaking from their hearts, from their love for their children and their disdain for what is happening in this school system right now. It's just appalling to the point where I just can't believe it's happening. Look at the wonderful knowledge you have gained today. Wonderful knowledge from scientists, from nurses, from parents, from everything. And you as a board are going to listen to a health department? Do we need to remember our governor's rights were taken away from her because she was overreaching her power? And you are morally going to accept that responsibility for what that means? I fear for you. I really do, because you will be held responsible by God above or by somebody else. So please, go over all this information you have received and make a conscious, good decision for these people who love their children beyond belief. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. Our next speaker is Jennifer Lee.
I just want to say thank you to all the parents that are still here supporting our children. You guys are awesome. My name is Jennifer Lee. I resided here in this neighborhood growing up as a child, and I moved to Kalamazoo and realized that my special needs son needed more. So I moved to Portage because I knew you guys would be able to give him what he needed. He's 10 years old. He's behind. These masks have to stop. It breaks my heart. My son used to be this very outgoing little boy who had dreams. And now he can't even speak for himself because he's petrified that he's going to be ridiculed for a mask. I don't see anybody taking special cases for my son who has a genetic disorder who is allergic to sugar and carbohydrates. I don't see anybody doing anything special for him. But I am here, not just for my son, but for all of your children, because we deserve to have a choice. And these kids deserve to have a future, their own future, what they deserve. And it's not up to you to choose that. You did not give birth to our children, we did. If anything, I can be so proud of being a mom. I never wanted to be up here. I never wanted to speak in front of a board. I never wanted to join a PTO. But the moment that you are mandating masks on my child who has a seizure disorder, that he needs to be seen if his lips turn blue, who am I going to sue when my son dies in that classroom because he has been suffocated by a mask? Who? Who is going to fix that? Who is going to bring my son back if he dies from a seizure in these classrooms? Are you, sir, that you just said that we were all disrespectful tonight? You're disrespectful to us moms sticking up for our children. Our children deserve a future, and you cannot stop that. I will not comply. I will walk my son into school on the first day without a mask, and he will not have a mask on either, and he will not be denied an education. Ever. This last minute.
My name's Kyle Marks. I'm a graduate of Portage Northern High School. I graduated with Miss Novaria's daughter. I graduated with Mrs. Harris's son and Mr. Dropper's son. You all would have stood up and fought for this same reason. I can attest to that. You parents all stood up for us when we were children. We are doing the same thing now. And I know for a fact that you all would be up here giving you guys the same ridicule as we are today. So you need to learn that and understand that. And we, the people, will not comply.
We won't comply. I will be happy to walk into Woodland on Monday with no mask, with my son with no mask, and him having that beautiful smile that everybody deserves to see.
Our next speaker is Steve Cara.
Thank you. Thank you, School Board. I'm State Representative Steve Cara from Three Rivers, and I'm here today to advocate for all these parents who have kids in the school where I graduated from here at Portage Northern in 2007. What I'm seeing here is an absolute atrocity. These people, they're not advocating for freedom for a selfish reason. I'm hearing over and over again, it's from health perspectives. Think about that kindergartner who is trying to learn from social cues, from facial expressions. Think about that first grader who's trying to see the enunciation in the mouth of their teacher. Think about that fourth grader who's living in fear over the situation. Think about the middle schoolers and the high schoolers who are suicidal. Think about all these problems with the acne that it's causing. Think about the fact that these kids don't know how to properly don and doff. Governor Whitmer doesn't even know how to properly apply the mask onto her face. I don't think you all know how to apply the mask onto your face. Certainly these kids do not know how to properly apply that mask on their face in a sanitary fashion. I don't think doctors in a school situation would properly be able to do that. Now, you all are in a serious pickle here because, we just had a revisement to the school code in 2017 that says that you cannot restrain the breathing of a child. And that, I'm a state representative. I don't know everything, but I think you're very, very susceptible to a lawsuit if you press forward with this. If you're gonna try to think that unelected bureaucrats have the authority under the health code that's older than this school statute from 2017, that's a clear repeal by implication. You're in trouble if you press forward with this. Expect a lawsuit. I've already won a lawsuit against one of the leaders in our state. The Secretary of State lost to me in a lawsuit. I think you guys are in trouble. I think you better be careful. You might as well just take this time and stand up for these parents and their kids.
Our next speaker is Emily Crawford.
Thank you so much. Most of the things that I wanted to say have already been covered, and I appreciate you taking the time and giving the time. I will note that the people who were here that are favorable for the masks left, but I think the reason they left was because how much they cheered once the collective bargaining agreement was passed. They cheered for that, and they left, which tells us, because that was behind closed doors, at least to me, that masks were a part of that. Okay? I have 5 children in this school system, 5, ranging from pre-K to high school. 2 of them have special needs that require them to be able to read other people's facial expressions because they don't understand it without it. And you're asking my kids to go to school again and not be able to understand what their peers are doing. You're asking me to send my kids to do that. Okay, and I can get a medical exemption for them to not have to wear it themselves, but they have to see other people to be able to understand. You're not taking into consideration how this affects the broad spectrum of students. Sure, a lot of parents will just send their kids go to school, great, they're fine, they're happy, whatever. There's a lot of kids that can't do that. Okay? I have kids that are in pre-K, kindergarten, 1st grade. That's last year. They're moving up this year, okay? I can tell you I had their mask when they were in class, and they took it off when they got in the car, and I hung it on the shifter of my car. And the next day, they got the same mask to put back on. I guarantee you, these high school kids, they're gonna pull it out of their purse and yank it out and put it on and put it back in their back pocket, or it's on the floor and they're fishing for it. If you're looking for trying to do things for health reasons, this isn't it. Okay? Kids are gross. I have 5. Of all ages, okay? And I'm just gonna end with one thing that my doctor told me that I've also confirmed, but size of fecal matter. Somebody passes gas. If you can smell it through your mask, you're getting a virus through your mask because the virus particles are smaller than the fecal matter that's in the air. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Our next speaker is Amy Heiskin.
I'm not her.
Is Amy here, please? Our next speaker here is Stephen Boyd. I'm sorry.
I'm back. You know, I had a really good speech prepared, and I'm not even going to say it because you guys don't care. And I'm actually not even going to talk to you guys because parents have shared their opinions. And actually, when I first started, I was real shaky, but I'm very confident right now. And I'm not talking to you guys. Talking to the parents. They don't care. And you want to know what you guys have to do? Do not send your kids to school with their masks because you give them the power. And you know, I've been in politics for 7 years now. Want to know what we do with politicians that don't listen, that just stare at us when we're crying? We vote them the hell out. So, I'm excited that after this, I'm going to be talking with a lot of you. We're going to get this started. I don't know, maybe we can do recalls. Maybe some of you guys can run. But I don't think they're going to change their decision. But come 2022, what will change is who's on that board. And Randy's up for a re-election in 2022. And Well, that's unfortunate for him. So, I do respect you guys. Believe it or not, I do. I came here with good intentions. I had a really good speech prepared. I was going to speak my mind, but I'm disappointed. Now I am talking to you guys. I shouldn't have to be doing this. I should be hanging out with my friends. My friends are right here, Kai and Ben. After this, we're going to go have a fun sleepover. We're going to go out in our tents. That's what I should be doing right now. And I said, Kai, can I have some more time? Because I have something to say. I should not have to be doing this. But you put this on us. You guys won't even answer our questions, and you guys say you're not obligated to. If that's so, that's so. But why? Why won't you answer our questions? Do we not matter to you? Do these parents, do people crying to you not matter? It's just mind-blowing. It's disappointing. I still have some respect for a lot of you. It's not too late. You guys could do a vote right now. And I don't know who made this decision, but I'm a kid. When I make mistakes, things have consequences. You guys have made a mistake, and oh boy, you guys are gonna have some consequences. So, yeah, would anyone like to do a motion? You guys are politicians, to reverse this. Let's see who's gonna stand up. You guys have 50 seconds, so. Okay. Seeing none, in the eye of me, it looks like these people have to go. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Aaron Steinsma.
Good evening. I'm Erin Steemsma. I'm a resident of Portage. I also have 3 children. I have 2 of them that are in 3rd and 5th at Angling Road. Thank you for the opportunity. Portage Public Schools' vision is to be exceptional, continuously improving, learning culture with high expectations, committed to all. Portage Public Schools' mission is to educate all students to achieve their potential. Nowhere in those statements does it state that you're to be their parent or legal guardian, nor does it state that you are to be their medical physician. I know my children, and I know what's in their best interest, not the Board of Education. You need to focus on what is in their best interest regarding their learning and education, not health. My daughter, she has amblyopia. She has to wear glasses. And when she is doing work in the classroom, which she's also very farsighted, she can't see very well. So when you put on a mask, it's always fogging up. How is she to achieve her potential when she can't see? I had to get her contacts because she hates wearing her glasses at school. She's practically blind. It's a constant battle. Not only that, but anxiety. I just fear for what this year holds. If you refer to page 8 in the Portage Public Schools Elementary Student Handbook, it addresses bullying. It is the policy of the district to provide a safe and nurturing educational environment for all of its students. This policy protects all students from bullying regardless of the subject matter or motivation for such impermissible behavior. The definition of bullying is when an individual or group of people with more power repeatedly and intentionally cause hurt or harm to another person or group of people who feel helpless to respond. Bullying behavior toward a student, whether by other students, staff, third parties, including board members, parents, guests, contractors, vendors, volunteers, volunteers, is strictly prohibited. This prohibition includes written, physical, verbal, psychological abuse, including hazing, personal safety, or personal degradation, demonstration of appropriate behavior, treating others with civility and respect, and refusing to tolerate harassment or bullying is expected of administrators, faculty, staff, and volunteers to provide positive examples for student behavior. Later
Thank you,
it
Erin.
states, if the investigation finds the instance for bullying or aggressive behavior has occurred, it will result in prompt appropriate remedial action. This may include an expulsion of students, discharge of employees, exclusion of parents, guest volunteers, or contractors, removal for any official position and/or request to resign for board members.
3 minutes, Aaron,
How
please.
is this not bullying? I am done having my children live in fear. The psychological damage of masking is more damaging than the virus itself. If parents send their children with masks, that's fine. That's their choice. I just lead by example, not by force. Please support our choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christine Morse.
Christine Morris said I could have her spot. Is that okay?
No, how did I know she did that?
Huh?
How do I know she did that?
Does somebody else want to? I only need 20 seconds. That's it. 20 seconds. My name is Christopher Sanchez. I came from the Climax Scotts School Board. I was there where about 50 parents spoke and asked the school board to take a reasonable stance, listen to the people, which doesn't seem unreasonable, and say no to the Jim Rutherford mandate. They did, 6-0. The only thing I'd like to say is one of the things that I found out was that you guys have a state subsidized lawyer who gives you guys advice about your liability and things like that. And somebody on that board consulted other lawyers that said that what your state lawyers are telling you about liability isn't true. It's not true. You guys are not personally liable. You guys will not get any way impacted. And there's a lot of people who know that as well. And so I think that you have to take that into consideration. And I don't think a lot of people know that they have state lawyers who tell them that if they say no to the mandate, they're liable, they might get one thing, they might get another thing, but it's all state-funded lawyers. Nobody knows that. It's state-funded lawyers. So the same state that is trying to mandate you is the one providing them lawyers on what they should do, and that's not right. All I'd ask for you guys is that you got one person in this entire county, Jim Rutherford, who told you guys what to do. And you got hundreds of parents here, hundreds of parents online, many people who can't make a Tuesday night or Monday night meeting, that want you to listen to their voice. That's not unreasonable. That's a very reasonable thing to do. You have one person versus potentially thousands and thousands of people who are saying don't do something. At least take that into consideration. Someone, please, today.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you.
Will somebody propose a motion to say no to the mandate? Will anybody do that and then also second the motion?
We have another speaker, Christopher. Jacqueline Flowers,
All right,
please.
thank you.
My name is Jacqueline Flowers, and I'm on Brindle. I just wanted to answer your question. Actually, you stated that the NIH Francis Collins talked about the mask, what have you. Well, to update you, on August 17, he indicated on the Hugh Hewitt show that they're putting masks on young kids, and it was due to the potential of school closure. So you probably want to go ahead and look that up, okay? So as far as what I'm looking at and experiencing, the parents who left, they're in fear. There's a lot of fear going on, okay? And I'm letting you guys know right now, communism is knocking at your door from someone who was never born here, and you're not seeing it. So I'm saying right now, fear is normal, natural flight, response to danger in any surrounding. We are leaving in fear regardless of your position. So what I'm saying is that, and this is food for thought, The mortality rate for MERS was 13 to 14%, no lockdown, no mask mandate, no mandatory vaccine. The mortality rate for SARS was 9 to 11%, no lockdown, no mask mandate, no mandatory vaccine. What happened? What ended up happening? The mortality rate for SARS-CoV, aka COVID-19, is 1 to 3%. International lockdown, worldwide mask mandate, mandatory injection of untested serum to save us. So tell me, do you trust the science? Okay? And what we're looking at here is that we need to consider every person, every diversity. Okay, my child has asthma. She's wearing that mask all day. And I understand fear is overcoming a lot of you guys, a lot. And fear of being sued, fear of I don't know who's paying you, but fear of, there's so much fear that's in here. You guys need to be logical and base it on science. Do not listen to Fauci. Do not listen to the CDC. Do not listen to WHO, because they've all failed us all over the place. And you will come to realize that. They have failed us. Okay? You got to look at, and don't listen to NBC. You need to go in, dig deep. Dig deep and get rid of the fear and stand up. We are standing up for our rights, our kids, because they're suffering, and you cannot put them in one box, because each one of them have their own unique situation. In addition, my child is suffering mentally, but anxiety because of what happened. And this isn't a world, this isn't just local, this is worldwide. You guys need to look at that, okay? And be bold, be strong, and realize that there are things going on, evil spirit, evilness that's going on right now in this country. And as I said, communism is knocking at your door while you guys are sleeping, okay? And as parents, we had that option to kick you out, and kick you out very soon.
Thank you, Jackie. We've reached the end of our public comment for this evening. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight and for staying through all this. We appreciate your comments.
I'm sorry, sir. I got here a little late, and there was no sign-in sheet.
Thank you again. We are adjourned.